You see, I'm literally speechless. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Rich Hagon, and I'm here in Nice, France, welcoming you to Talking Points, or Talking Points. Except, well, yeah, this week it's Talking Points. It's not about pro points, not to start with anyway. It's not about 3 points for a win. It's not about 1 point for a draw. It's not about platinum and gold and silver and any kind of pros, really. It's about talking points. The last week for Magic has not been good. No, it has not. I don't have any notes in front of me. I have a blank iPad screen and I have a piece of paper with my predictions for the World Magic Cup. So anything I say now live is... I'm not going to credit it with from the heart. I'm just going to say it's what I'm thinking as I'm feeling it in the moment. I do not regard myself as a community leader in Magic. I consider myself so stupendously lucky to have found myself in the position that I am, where I get to share my love of a card game, my love of competition, my love of sport, my love of thought and intellect, my love of passion that is so often displayed in so many corners of the game. I feel unbelievably privileged to be able to share my love of the absurd with you, because Magic is full of the absurd. Magic is full of games where creatures make copies of other creatures that then everything gets -4, but transmuted, and because they're all elephants, they all get to live. And craziness lurks round every corner of MTG. I love the fact that there are hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of jokes that I can dream up just because of words on a Magic card. I love being able to share the beauty of the art, the impossible subtlety of some of the card design. I love being able to share the life-changing moments when people who have sacrificed profoundly in their life choices to achieve a goal, achieve that goal. And yes, I also love sharing with you the stories of the people who have given up so much to achieve a goal and come up just that little bit short, because that's part of the human condition too. And one of the things that Magic does for us is, perhaps like almost no other game, certainly no other game I'm aware of, it enables us a level of customization that lets us reflect in some way who we really and truly are in our hearts as people. I am a control freak. I love making choices for other people. It's no coincidence that blue is my favourite colour in Magic. I don't particularly care about pictures of kittens. It's no surprise that green doesn't do a lot for me. The nature thing, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's nice. And I certainly don't mind anyone else loving it, but it doesn't speak to me. Equally, I can see why black in Magic is incredibly appealing. But for me, It's the romance, capital R, of the knights, literally in the shining armour, with the pennants snapping in the wind. That's what does it for me. I'm a blue and a white mage. I like order, I like peace, I like survival, I like bonds of loyalty and friendship and honour and dignity and respect and intelligence and cunning and artifice and trying to create a place that's better, whatever that might mean. I studied history at A level, so that's 16 to 18. And I spent a lot of those 2 years looking at global politics, essentially, because politics and history are kind of the same. Global politics since World War II. And I went to a school where we were told relentlessly, I went to a very, very nice school. We were told relentlessly that we would go on to be, in whatever field we chose, leaders. We were not going to be followers, we were going to be leaders, because the vast amount of humankind wants to be led, because being led lets you off the hook a lot of the time. You get to say, kind of with a straight face, wasn't really my fault, or it wasn't anything to do with me, or, well, I was just following orders. We've heard that phrase before in history. And I went to a school where we were told, we are preparing you to be leaders, to shape the world that you want to be in, whether that's in finance or languages or music, the performing arts, medicine. So, one of the things that my school valued very highly was not what you thought, but how you arrived at what you thought. Nobody cared what date an event in history happened on. No one cared who was wearing what. No one cared what was said by who. What we were taught mattered is the why. Why do people behave the way that they do? Sometimes that's wonderful. Sometimes that's through incredible altruism. Sometimes that's through a drive for scientific discovery. So it's not all bad. But whatever. Why? Because if you understand the why, that's where change becomes possible. Because you're no longer responding to the what, because the what can take many forms. But when you respond to the why, you get somewhere. You get a deeper comprehension of humankind. Because so often, the what is merely a function of the why. And because as human beings we have a near infinite capacity for love and for compassion, but also for darkness and blame and cruelty, understanding why we choose those paths is really important, because the what takes many forms, but the why often comes down to the same few things of despair and loneliness and self-loathing and In the past week, the magic community has been through a place where many people who don't care enough are being forced to confront that not caring enough. Now, I hope that I am relatively unflinching in this regard. I think there are some really, really, really important things in the world. I think people not starving is really important. I think people having clean water is really important. I think having countries taken over by military dictatorships, really quite bad. I hate that landmines litter millions of square miles of this planet. I hate that there are substances that clever people have created that lead to the total destruction of millions of human lives. I could go on, I won't. But although I can say to you with a straight face that I feel all those things, that I care about all those things, by definition, I don't care enough. So if anyone wants to put the charge, you say you care, but you clearly don't care enough, I have to say, you're right, I don't care enough. Because if I cared enough, if I really thought that landmines were the most important thing in the world, I would be trying to get rid of landmines. I'm actually trying to decide whether the Dominican Republic team are going to make day 2 of the World Magic Cup. I'm preparing to tell you about whether I think they will and why. Because I'm actually a pretty useless human being. I think we all are. Because we are good, each of us, at so few things. You can argue, if you feel like being kind, that I'm incredibly good at talking persuasively on a topic, at talking continuously. I've demonstrated I can do that. But I struggle to tie my own shoelaces. I am frequently defeated by items such as elevators, stairs, forks, buttons. I am terrified of vegetables. Pretty much all vegetables. I feel sick physically at the thought of any of them. I have a body that is falling apart on a regular basis. Yes, I can speak for hours in English on the topic of Magic the Gathering. Can't do that in French, or German, or Spanish, or Italian, or Portuguese, or any of thousands of other languages that litter the planet. I'm good, like most of us, at very, very, very few things. And I made a conscious choice somewhere over a decade ago, having spent the previous decade as a musician and entertainer and performer, that I was not a very suitable human being to get rid of landmines. I decided that I wasn't a very suitable human being to try and stop wars or to try and create more democracies in far-flung countries distant to my own. I decided that I wasn't ideally suited to take up the cause of gay people or trans people or victims of domestic violence, or black people, people of colour, or homeless people, or drug addicts. I decided that my best contribution to planet Earth was to try and make people smile, to try and give people a sense of pleasure and joy and friendship and togetherness and community at a time when the rest of their lives maybe are filled with more stressful things to consider than where to put 4 negates across 3 Team Unified standard decks. I consider Magic to be one of the most glorious things that have ever been invented, and there is not a day goes by when I'm not grateful not only for the job that I have and the role that I have, but the fact that Magic exists to be part of my life. And again, to bring us full circle, that I get to share the joy and the love with you, many of whom I've never met, many of whom I never will. But we have that bond because for some reason, something in us is spoken to by lands and spells, a wonderful world of fantastical creatures. And actually, humankind is full of fantastical creatures too. Because whilst we are capable of astonishing cruelty and I cannot believe, and this is where the why comes in, I'm fascinated by the moment in history where someone suggests that something terrible should occur, and everyone in the room goes, yeah. And whether that's a decision to, invade another country or just put some new ingredient into this drug to make it more addictive, or whether that's to monetize the misery of others by waking up every day and wondering what you can say to harm people who mean no harm. Doesn't mean we do no harm, but I find the place in the, without getting too metaphysical about it, the place in the soul where you can decide that your purpose in life is to hurt and to destroy. Is so both terrifying to me and so terribly sad. Because what human being has so little love in their lives, and I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not even talking about Magic, I'm talking about in the world, who has so little love and empathy and compassion in their lives that they can have a discussion with themselves and go, I've had a great idea, me. Oh yeah, what's that? I thought I'd hurt and maim and destroy and tear down and rip apart and vandalize and ruin lives. I think that's a great idea. Oh, good thought me. I'll do that. So when I say, what kind of person does that? It's not really a rhetorical question. Because, in my view, from my unbelievably privileged tower, anyone who can look themselves in the eye and tell themselves, yeah, this is going to be a great way to behave, something's wrong there. And I have nothing but horror, but also compassion for the people who have reached a point in their lives where tormenting others for profit is the right answer as they see it. Whoever that is, in any walk of life, in any business, in any home, in any city, in any game. But I have some good news, and you're going to get the show pun now. Because negativity in any form is very, very persuasive. Especially when you feel vulnerable. I've read a lot this week about some topics I'm very uncomfortable with. And I'm perfectly comfortable with looking all of you in the eye and saying that certainly at school, I was a bully. Indeed, I'm a very cowardly person. I'm scared of a lot of things. I'm scared of a lot of people. And I fold like a pack of cards under criticism. So I've worked very hard to put myself in a position where, by and large, not many people complain about me or to me. I get to work for myself, essentially. And although then, yes, I have my own demons to fight, I've been with those for quite a long time. And I know when they're coming to get me. I don't often get emails saying, I'm a waste of space. Please die. That makes me very lucky. But I do have good news. The good news is that the force of won't, which is what so much of this last week seems to be about. It's about people saying no to things. Some people are saying no to censorship. Some people are saying no to, you can call me a Nazi, but I'm not really. Some people are saying, no, you're a woman, you have no place in magic. Other people are saying, no, you don't get to say that. Other people are saying, no, you don't get to be part of the magic community. Other people are saying, no, this, no, that, no. And no is everywhere this week in the magic community. So where's the good news? Well, ironically, because it is a counterspell. But never mind the flavour fail. I would like you to remember that the force of won't is nowhere near close to the force of will. Two of the most powerful words in any language are I will. So, I'm not going to tell you today that I'm going to try and solve the crisis of famine and starvation, or military dictatorships, or drug abuse, or alcohol abuse, or any number of other things that are a lot more important than any kind of first pick, first pack. But I will tell you that more goodness has been unearthed in the past week than any amount of cowardice and self-loathing and the monetization of misery can possibly do. Because after the shock and the rage and the outrage and the guilt and the self-examination has come the love. Because everywhere I see, yes, the hatred is still there, of course, because those are people who are not easily fixed. But the outpourings of true community are there for all to see in the past 7 days. And there are people who I would have thought a week ago were strangers who are now acquaintances. And there are acquaintances who are now friends. There are friends who are special to me now. And there are special people who I've learned even more about and come to know and love and respect even more in the last 7 days. And all of that has happened in a way that very few people would have expected, very few people would have chosen. And I am not here to tell you that there are not very broken people as a result of the past week. Because everywhere I look, I see broken people too. But I will always beat I won't. Because when you create, you are trying to make the world in some way a better place. And there is no easy answer, and those of us looking to wizards for a solution, there are no solutions to 150,000 people who look forward to seeing the next piece of abuse. There are none. But there are ways to say not only to the women of magic, but to the men of magic too. And everyone in between. However you identify, there is a home in magic for you, because magic is a place for everyone. Magic is a place where, as long as you are capable of meeting a very, very, very basic standard of human existence and dignity, There will always be a home for you playing the best game in the world. There is so much about this past week that I do not comprehend and likely never will. But there is a way to win. This is a game we can win because I'm one of the lucky ones. I've met thousands and thousands and thousands of you, and I can truthfully say that there are three people in the entire history of nearly 20 years in the game, over 20 years in the game, that I would not give the time of day to. 3 people ever that I've encountered and thought, And there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of you who are good people. And don't let I won't stop you from knowing that the Magic community is a great place full of great people. It is also populated by corners of people who don't want the world to be a happier place and want some people not to be there. This isn't about a fight. This isn't about ideology. This isn't about boobs. Because one thing I'll tell you is that every person I've ever met playing Magic has been exactly that. A person. Not an opponent. Not someone to trade with. Person. With families, goals, thoughts, aspirations, intelligence, lack of intelligence, degrees, cars, wives, families. So as we muddle through, choose I will. Because almost every Magic player knows that force of will is pretty much unbeatable. Alright then, so let's rock and roll and let's talk about Grand Prix Lyon, which was last weekend. That was the Magic action that took place. It was so much fun. We had over 600 teams. It was a good venue, solid venue, massive turnout, and of course we had a ton of people heading for the World Magic Cup. Now I ended up with 48 teams that I thought were good to watch. To be fair, I could have got you to about 100 by the time I'd added in a Grand Prix champion plus his 2 best friends. But so many good teams. So, got to the end of the tournament, started going through them all. And it's not often that you get to be this wrong. I'd put them more or less at random, kind of basically in the order in which they submitted their registration. So it wasn't like I'd gone for the best teams first or anything. It was just pulled them out and it ended up that I got to 48. And there were 8 listed on a screen. And I looked. 7 of them were eliminated on day 1. So I thought, okay, we'll start with that. And as someone rather tastefully jabbed at me on Twitter, Rich, had you considered possibly referring to them as teams of note on the basis that, well, you can't really watch them once they're out the tournament. That was a very good point. So, Florian Pils, David Brooker and Jürgen Steffen, gone. Jan van der Vecht, Sebastian Twinstra and Dan Prout, who's with the Dutch team this week, out. The Hungarians, Gabor Coxey, Sultan Sokad, Jan Korbel, gone. The Finns, Mika Raraksen and Matti Kuisma, Laurie Pisper, gone. 2 of them are in the World Magic Cup. Jan Kassander, Niels Moller, English World Magic Cup captain Martin Rysek, gone. Ebnu Suryadi, Aziz Ripat, Billy Nugrua, the Indonesian team. Autumn Burchett, Stephen Murray, Luke Southworth. That's English national champion, Scottish national champion, and a guy from England. Out. The only people from the first group of 8 who made it to day 2 were Bradley Barkley and Duncan Tang, that's 2/3 of Team Scotland, and Rob Catton, guy from England. They ended up 9 and 5, 56th place. Incidentally, if you're expecting some strategic insight, I have none. It was Ixalan team sealed, what do you want me to say? It was Ixalan team sealed the next day as well, what do you want me to say? Then there was a semi-final draft, Then there was a final draft, somebody won. That's the strategy out the way. So back to the people. Thomas Hendricks, Even Flock and Martin Dang. 10, 3 and 1, they finished 18th. Pretty good. 2 of those will be at the World Magic Cup this coming week. Yuya Watanabe, Kenta Harana, Shota Yasuoka. Japan, next week, this coming week. 8 wins, 85th place. Got themselves to 5-0, had a feature match at 4-0. Remember, no buys for any teams at this. Very disappointing, quite frankly. Like, major disappointment. Maybe they learned something. Carlos Ramal, Paulo Vida Damarosa, 2/3 of the Brazil team with Andre Strasky. Only 6 wins, so they made it in overnight, but then, I assume, dropped quite early. Maybe they lost an early round. There was quite a pattern of that. People who made it in at 6 and 3, they knew that even with 5 wins, they probably weren't going to make top 8, and that is how it turned out. And so as soon as you start losing with your 6 wins at 6 and 4, you just go, okay, we're done. Antoine Ruel and Olivier Ruel with Mathieu Le Montagnier, or Matty the Mountain, it's the best name. 6 wins, 132nd place. The Romanians, Tudor Daniel Grigoroa, Rezglad Colome and Alexandra Savescu. That's not how you pronounce Rezglad, but Rezglad Column A is so great for Team Sealed. Just seems perfect. Anyway, they were out. The Venezuelans were out. Daniel Fior, Felipe Medina and Humberto Pataka. And then the Turks, Baduhan Ukizal, Berkat Bulut and Soz R. 6 wins, 141st place. Now, they're not the actual Turkish team. That's just 3 Turks together. The all-Italian team, disappointing. Alessandro Lippi, who's so much fun. Samuele Estrati, ditto. Emanuela Marcotti. They are just a joy to be around. They missed out. Makis Matsoukas, the Greek captain, his team missed out with Yanis Kantouris and Eleftherios Kotsialis. Thomas Enevoldsen, Christopher Larson and Michael Bonder. Yes. Yes, they did okay, to put it mildly. Top 4, then top 2, then top 1. We'll talk more about them in a bit. Elliot Busso, Alexandre Abeas, Sam Vuillet, that's the Magic Corsairs crew. They went 9 and 5, so did Kai Buddha, Antonino De Rosa and Luca Cassidy. They were interesting because they struggled early, and generally, look, once you start losing at these things, it is almost impossible for us to keep an eye on you if you open up 0-2. That's what happened to Enevoldsen, Larson and Bonder, by the way. They were 0-2 and essentially dead. They could not lose again. They won 12 in a row to get themselves into the top 4. And then they won both of those. Ridiculous. But Kai, Luca and Antonino certainly had an early loss, but did not get there. So 9 and 5. 7 wins for Karl Sarup, Hannes Karem from the 2008 World Championship, and Victor Kazanskis. He'll be playing this weekend. 7 wins, 120th place. The sort of pro combination squad, Andrea Mengucci of Italy, Chris Calcano, USA, Andre Prost, he'll be the Latvian champion this week, 9 and 5 and 57th. The Australian team, Matt Sherlock, David Mines, Ryan Cubitt, did not make it into day 2. On the plus side, England beat England lost to Australia at cricket, so it was a good weekend overall for the Australians. Boo. The actual Turkish team, that was Kana Aktas, Yusuf Kemal Veyfa and Can Tanyol, they were out on day one. Just into day two, but no further, were the Luxembourgians. Cheeseburger de Luxemburger? I don't know. Jeffrey Martinell, Steve Hatto, Rafael Pistorius, 6 wins, 143rd place. Yi De Gui, Lim Zhongyi, Nathan Sari, that's 2 New Zealanders with a guy from Singapore. They were out. Now, good showing. Oliver Polat-Rotman, David Reitbau, they were the famous 2 from Austria, surrounding Adrian Schrenk. Schrenk is on the Austrian team. They went 11-3, finished 10th overall. That's a really good showing. And I imagine that Adrian Schrenk learns a lot sitting beside David Reitbauer and Oliver Polat-Rotman, because they're both really good. Polat-Rotman, 4 GP top 8s, I think, and tied a couple of titles. David Reitbauer made the top 8 of Worlds at Rome in 2009. That's a really great weekend learning experience. The Macedonian team, Vladimir Trushevsky, Miropopov, Dimchim, Milovsky, they missed out on day one, as did the Panamanians, Alvaro Nicosia, Manuel Sakari and Saul Alvarado. Then let's talk Belgium. My word, it was a good weekend for Belgium. Last year at the World Magic Cup, they finished second. That was Branko Naring, Pascal Viren, Peter Viren. Those 3 went 11-3 and finished 6th. Moraine Leibert, playing with Christophe Gregoire, who has a Pro Tour top 8 to his name, and Thomas van der Pelt, who's very good, and I think one of the new sort of stars of European Magic. Not quite at the top tier yet, but certainly someone I got my eye on. They finished at 11-3 in 7th. Tremendous run for the 2 Belgian squads. Peter Suhorek, Martin User, Gregor Kowalski, they were never... It was weird. So again, as I say, on coverage, once you've lost a couple, we kind of lose track of you. It's very hard to pay attention to what's happening in 473rd place. That's what happened with Enna Voltson and Bonda and Chris Larson. So the thing with Suhorek and User and Kowalski, they did fine. They made day 2. They went 10-4. They finished 32nd. That's a solid result. But we basically never saw them. I think we had them in one feature match, and that was about it. Jasper Grimmer, Robin Steinborn, Amit Cohen, they were in feature match action. They had 8 wins, 94th place, couldn't repeat their top 4 from Florence. Ben Stark, Alex Hayne, Reed Duke. Well, that's the superstar team, right? That's the Channel Fireball squad, as it were, being sent over to Europe. Lots of spell slinging on Friday they did. It was great to see them. But they went 6-3 overnight and then ended up with 9 wins, 67th place. That's not what they were looking for. And life moves on, but not great for them. The official head-in-hand shot, oh my god, we were terrible at magic, belongs to Ken Yukihiro, Tomoharu Saito, and Jeremy Desani. They didn't make day 2. I think they dropped at 3 and 4. And they very graciously did the pose of doom. Oh, can't believe we were that bad. So they missed out. Kelvin Chu, Yan Wing Chung, and Jason Chun. Yan Wing Chun will be a captain this week. Jason Chung, captain of New Zealand. 8 wins, 109th place. Now, so nearly, and this is... I mentioned Branko Naring and the Viren brothers. Branko Naring is someone who cares incredibly deeply about the game. This is someone who takes no prisoners at the table. You will have to be absolutely precise in all your interactions, because if you make a mistake, he will call the judge and he will explain the mistake correctly and he will want the rules applied correctly. He's not interested in takebacks. He's not interested in second chances. He is interested in playing the game at the highest level and where everyone understands that playing the game correctly is what needs to be done. Now, that said, he is passionate at the table about doing his best. He holds himself to an incredibly high standard too. It's great to focus on the joy of the winners. but there is also a loser to it. Nyring was playing for top 4 in the last round, didn't get there, and was devastated. And again, I always feel very privileged to see that, because games that become so important are special, right? It is a great gift to be allowed to care about something so inconsequential. And he hurled himself at it, and they came up just one notch short of the top 4. So commiserations to him. Now, why tell this story now? Well, next on my list are the Grafensteiner brothers of Germany, that's Toby and Daniel, plus Christian Seibold. They were the winners of Grand Prix Barcelona 2014, I want to say. And they too, one win away from the top 4. They finished 9th. The Chinese team, Liu Yuchen, Zhang Yi, Liu Jin, didn't get as far as day 2. Seibold, in this case, was the one who was just sitting there like, oh man. He, in fact, was on the back table in the feature match, and his was the last match to finish. So he was in the position of being 1-0 down, actually getting battered quite hard by his last round opponents, and watching it all slip away. But he sat for a good while after the match, just decompressing. And again, hats off to him for caring so much. Luis Salvato, Marcio Carvalho, and Javier Dominguez. Now, they won the Team GP last time around. They've teamed before. This is your Argentinian captain, your Portuguese captain, your Spanish captain. This time around, it didn't quite come together. They got as far as 5-0, and then they actually ran into, at that time, the best placed of the Brits, which was Osama Sajid and Matt Light, who were playing with Oscar Christensen of Denmark, and the three of them defeated Salvato, Carvalho, and Dominguez to advance to 6-0. That was as good as it got for the Brits, but Salvato, Carvalho, and Dominguez, they all move on to Nice this weekend. 9 wins, 48th place out of 600 and some teams. We mentioned Matt Ellingson, Sveinung Bjornerud, and Andreas Gantz. Andreas Gantz, Grand Prix champion from Charlotte a couple of years ago. Matt Ellingson, the Swede, and Sveinung Bjornerud, if you don't know, and I don't think I've mentioned him before here on the show, Sveinung Bjornerud is SENE1 on Twitter, Sene1. And he does a ton of work on keeping Pro Points updated. We did joke together just before the top 4. So have you done the Swiss yet? He hadn't, and decided to mention this on Twitter. So we love what he does for the community, and fantastic to see him, and indeed Andy Gantz and Matt Ellingson, in the top 4. Huang Haoshan, Cheng Yu Chang, and Borad Chin went 10 and 4, 39th place. Then the French team of Pichon, Dajon, and Cassini, Elie Pichon, Pierre Dajon, a former Pro Tour finalist, of course. He'll be there for France. He's the captain this week. They missed out. Elias Klocker, who's the Austrian national champion, he was paired with former Platinum Pro Thomas Holzinger and a real old schooler in Mark Mühlbach. They missed out. Italian team, Matteo Mori, Marco Camelluzzi, and Giannato D'Alfara out. And also the Austrians, Helmut Sommersberger, Valentin Mackel, and Jörg Unfried missed out. Patrick Dickmann, 8 wins alongside German national champion Mark Tobias and Julien Plage. And then what I thought was a lovely story, Raf Levy, France, with Karan Chedi, South African national captain, and Terns Prinsloo of South Africa. And the link there is that Raf Levy's wife, Monica, is from South Africa. So Raf knows the South African community very well. He was there in a Springbok, that's a South African rugby shirt, representing his adopted country for the weekend. That was nice to see. 9 wins, 73rd place for them. So we got, as we must, to a Final 4. Now, in the Final 4, so I'm going to tell you a story that paints me in a terrible light here. Okay, so I am not someone. This is just factually accurate. I'm not someone who goes to bars very much, as you probably know from a previous episode. I don't drink, and so a night out in a bar just I don't don't get that at all, really. Not for me. And barroom conversation, you know, that kind of very laddish thing of like terrible defending, you say, and you have no idea where the centre-back should have been at the time. Or you watch American football and go, that's a needless offensive penalty there. And you have no idea what stance the left tackle was doing or the right guard or whatever it is. But you're just mouthing off, right? Because you're with your friends and you're having fun and you're being high energy. So, it's Worlds 2015. And there's a coverage dinner. And there's a whole bunch of us. We've gone out for pizza. It's basically everyone on coverage. And part of that is to just hang out and see how everyone's doing. But there's also an element of work to it, in that we want to start establishing what we feel the stories of the weekend are, who we think the big favourites are, who we think the big underdogs are. And there are a lot of very influential people in the room, right? You've got Brian David Marshall, the Pro Tour historian. You've got Randy Buehler, Hall of Famer, who knows everything about everyone. So many people there who have done hundreds of events. So it's not like your typical barroom conversation about a sport you don't know, about the NBA. It's not like a 5'6" guy talking about whether LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. This is a room full of the most likely people to know on earth about the best players in the world, talking in barroom style about the best players in the world. So we're all sitting there and we're going through the field and trying to work out who we think's going to win. And everyone is being quite gobby, one might say. And so we get to Seth Manfield, who I didn't know very well at the time. And my clearest memory of Seth Manfield was watching him win a Grand Prix in some constructed format where doing things to the graveyard was quite a big deal, and where his opponent cast a Fairy Macabre, which I think lets you do things. I'll tell you what, why don't I just look that up and see what Fairy Macabre does. Pretty sure it's what I think it is. There we go. Yeah. Discard Fairy Macabre, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. So it turned out that Seth was playing something that, that was bad news against. And his opponent cast Fairy Macabre as a 2/2 flyer for 3 and did nothing with it. And Seth proceeded to win the Grand Prix when all his opponent, in theory, needed to do was use Fairy Macabre to exile the relevant cards from Seth's graveyard. So I had this story sort of bubbling away in the back of my mind. And the truth is, it is very impossible to meaningfully talk about 24 outstanding Magic players. Honestly, because the absolute honest truth is they're all amazingly good, they're all Pro Tour champions and multiple Grand Prix champions and Hall of Famers, they're all outstanding. Probably these 7 are a teeny bit better than some of these. But that's not a barroom conversation. And so, I say to Randy, we get on to Seth. And I say, this is word for word, come on, Randy. Seth Manfield, what's he ever done? He's just basically beaten up on GP idiots. It's quite a compelling line. If I was on, pardon the interruption, or First Take, it's a good line. Stephen A. Smith, what has Seth Manfield ever done? Let me tell you, I'll tell you what he's done. He's done nothing. He's done nothing but beat up on GP idiots. I was doing my best. facsimile of such a show. Now, for those of you who know the story, guess who won Worlds that year? Seth Manfield. What's he ever done? Beaten up on GP idiots. Yes, Rich, that's right. You know a lot about good people at Magic. Well done. Well done. Proud of me. That is easily the most terrible thing I've said about someone who's that good at Magic. Sorry, Seth. I love you. And it was easily the most wrong I've been proved in such a deliciously short frame of time. And I thought it was wonderful, of course. But yes, I had overstepped my margin by a lot. Like, this is quite a wide angle lens, but like a lot was how wrong I was. So, I've learnt to be a teeny bit more circumspect since then. So when a friend of mine, Marcus Hensing, posted on Saturday morning, "My money's on me and Casper Nielsen and Alexander Pasgard to win the GP." My first thought was, because I'm looking at this list of 100 teams of note, and they're not on it. And one thing we've learned from the Peach Garden Oath is that unless you're the Peach Garden Oath or their final opponents, you've got no chance of winning the GP. So I thought I'd prod him gently and sort of went, okay. So let me know when you're 4-0 or some such thing. Anyway, they did a fantastic job. They got through day one. They posted, was going to show Matei my deck, but he said maybe we'd see it on camera soon. Grin. So day progresses. They make it through to day two. And then they keep on winning and winning and winning. And with every round they kept on winning, I kept thinking, oh, thank God. Thank you for not actually tweeting, Rich. Come on, Marcus. Let's be real here. Lots of good teams, and that doesn't include you. Which is not exactly how I would have phrased it, clearly, but nonetheless, I wasn't that far away from posting something along those lines. Boy, am I glad I didn't, as they made it all the way to the final. Outstanding job. So, they were in the top four, from Denmark, all of them. Incidentally, what's the secret to success in Team Limited? It's quite interesting. One says, letting me play the deck with mountains in it. The next says, good teammates. The next says, being Danish and playing belligerent Brontodon. Excuse me a moment. So, next up was Thomas Enervoldsen, Christopher Larsen and Michael Bond. Enervoldsen says, secret to success. 1, play with friends. 2, know how to utilise variants, for example, when to build all-in decks and when to build more generic solid decks. 3, have an eye for weird synergies which only come up in a larger card pool. 4, trust each other. 5, team with Craig Wescoe prior to the tournament. Apparently that was quite a good indicator of doing well. Chris Larsen says, playing with good mates who know how to argue, that is, a lawyer and a school teacher. And Michael Bond says the secret, play with your friends and have fun. Often Magic is individuals with different preferences and isolated games. Here, you talk, laugh, and cry together in good and in bad times. Enjoy it. And thanks to Craig Wescoe for the shout out. They remember when 0-2, and talking to Corbin Hostler, our text writer, talked to them at 0-2, and they said, you know what, we're having a great time. We're doing rubbish, our decks are just okay, we're getting destroyed, doesn't matter. Here with just 3 great mates having a lovely time. Then you have yet more Scandinavians, Max Ellingson and Sveinung Bjornerud and Andy Gantz from Switzerland. Their version of this, secret to success in Team Limited, get asked to play with some good players, fair. Let's not succumb to survivor's bias quite yet. Actually, I'm not sure. And Andy Gantz says, try to maximise the best cards in your pool while identifying subtle synergies that give you little edges. Make sure to get carried by your teammates. This is a very solid and a very Swiss answer. And then we have the Italians, to whom I do have to apologise. Corrado Di Sio, Jacopo Bartolini, Ila Gamettoni. The truth is, at almost every tournament, there's someone who makes it all the way to the top 8, or in this case the top 4, and we never see them in the feature match area. That's especially true when there's only 2 matches that get into the feature match area for teams. We just don't have room for more than that. So it turns out that if you have a big name still playing and in contention, you tend to show them. And it's only if the relatively unknown team, in this case Desio, Bartolini and Gamaitoni, are paired against one of the big teams that they end up in the feature match area. Even if they're belting away at 11-0. Because at 11-0, well, we can worry about them when they've lost one, and at 11-1 they're playing a win and in. And so it turns out that almost every event, somebody gets all the way to the elimination rounds. We just never seen them before. That was the Italians this time around. Their version of how to succeed in Team Limited: good teammates, be friends in your everyday life, let your friends play lurking chupacabras, and my teammates are funny and win. I was about to say I'd settle for win, but that's not true. I'd actually just settle for funny. Although I kind of provide that, right? Anyway, so in the end, we got there. Hensing, Nielsen and Pasgaard, who I want to call Alexander Skarsgård, even though he's obviously Parsgaard, or Pasgaard. I felt like that the whole weekend. That's Eric Northman from True Blood, which is a fantastic show if you've not seen it. But don't try watching it if you're little, because it's quite grown up and quite rude sometimes. Oh yes, very rude. Anyway, so they made it to the final, and they were up against Enna Volson, Larsen and Bonder. If you need an antidote to the last week of Magic, I highly recommend looking at the winner photo for Enna Volson, Larsen and Bonder. I cannot begin to tell you just how overjoyed these 3 were to win the tournament. They're all good guys. They're all fun guys. They're all funny guys. They're all good at Magic. And it meant the world to them. And it was pretty wonderful. That was the story of Grand Prix Lyon. And then it turned out that there was a World Magic Cup around the corner. Actually, around several corners. And some straights and some tunnels, because that was the train ride we took down. Which is how I've ended up here in this Nice hotel room. And in the final part of the show, I will tell you who's going to win the World Magic Cup. Alright boys and girls, let's do this. Welcome back to Talking Points, or Talking Points. It's time to talk World Magic Cup. We're in Nice, France, the same place as we were 3 years ago in 2014, because that's what happens when you take 2017 and take 3 years off. We're back again, 73 countries are back again. Different format, here's how it's going to work. Ixalan, team sealed. 3 rounds, then that's the end of the limited. It's then Team Unified Standard Constructed. What does that mean? It basically means this. This is different to previous years. If you put a single negate into, let's say, deck A, you cannot put any negates into any other deck. Not into deck B, not into deck C. You're done. You put 1 in deck A, you have access in deck A to 4 negates, if you wish. So as soon as you put 1 copy of any card except basic lands into a deck, that's the only lane, the only deck that card can go in. So that makes the standard puzzle pretty complicated. We expect almost everyone to have a Ramanap red deck. We expect almost every team to have a Temur Energy or a Sultai Energy. Where you go from there is the 3rd deck that's the interesting thing. Where do you go? Lots of control decks, maybe some mono black aggro, maybe some green white tokens, maybe some pummeler of some description, Grixis tokens, who knows? We'll find out. But everyone plays 3 rounds of the limited, and then you're trying to get to 4 wins on day 1. There are 7 rounds total. As soon as you hit 4 wins, you are done. You're out of there. So the 3-0s, they play to advance. Get to 4-0, that's it. Bye-bye, see you tomorrow. 3 rounds you don't have to play. No flood, no screw, no getting beaten by the mythic rare, no being beaten by the god draw. You are done. Fantastic. 4 rounds, bye. At 3-1, you play again to make it in. 4-1, you're in. At 3-2, you play again. You win, you're in. 4 wins, you are in. At the end of round 6, there will be, our guess, 23 to 26 teams who have advanced by having 4 wins or better. And they are locked. They cannot be overtaken. They are, if you like, awarded the win in every subsequent round. So the 4-0s end the day, notionally, at 7-0. The 4-1s are awarded their last 2 wins, 6-1. The 4-2s get awarded a win in the last round to finish at 5-2. In the last round, teams that are 3-3 will face off trying to get to 4-3, and depending on how many teams get there, there might be a couple of 3-4s that make it in the 31st and 32nd place. There might be some 4-3s. Historically, this has been true. A couple of 4-3s that don't make it in despite winning 4 matches. 32 teams advance to Saturday. On Saturday, the teams are seeded, but only in terms of how the pools are created. So if you were a 4-0, you're a top seed, and then it gets filled up by the 4-1s, the 4-2s, and eventually the teams that made it in round number 7. Teams of 4, pools of 4 teams, random pairing, you get paired for round 1. You have 2 winners, you have 2 losers. The 2 winners play off. The winner of that match, going to 2-0 in the pool, is through. Again, don't need to play round 3. The loser of that match waits. The 2 losers play each other. The loser of that falls to 0-2 and doesn't get to play the 3rd round. They're done. The winner of that loser bracket goes into the middle and at 1-1 faces the loser of the winner's bracket. They play at 1-1 to see which one advances to the top 16, which one goes home. In the afternoon, 16 teams now in pools of 4, again, A, B, C and D, same deal. 2 wins puts you through, 2 losses put you out. So if you're 2-0, you don't have to play the last round. If you're 0-2, you don't get to play the last round. The 2 1-1s will then add a second team from A, B, C and D to the 4 group winners that are already through to Sunday. On Sunday, we all come back and everyone plays essentially acting like the nation is a single person. We will show all 4 quarterfinals, one after the other. Sweden against Malta, Paraguay against Peru, USA against Venezuela, whoever it is. And then we'll do the same with the semis and the final. The format, if you've not come across teams before, is 3 people in a line. A plays A, B plays B, C plays C. And you have to win 2 out of the 3 individual matches. As long as you do that, it's over. You get 3 points. There is no 3-0. There are no tie breaks awarded like that. It is just whichever team gets the second match win is done. There is an incredibly deep tie breaker because we're not interested in draws. There are no draws on day 2. So it's if a team is leading 1-0 when time runs out, that will be the score. If it is 1-1 in matches, but somebody is leading 1-0 in the deciding match, that results in a win. If that's still the same, if they're into game 3, higher life total will make the difference. If that still doesn't do it, the first life change will make a difference. If they're going into an extra game, the first life change is what determines it. It will go super deep. There are no draws on day 2. So that's the way that works. Pretty much the whole thing, apart from those 3 rounds on Friday morning, team unified standard constructed, and on Friday morning, Ixalan sealed. 12 booster packs, 40 card decks, 3 decks, and you have to put all the other cards into one particular sideboard. You choose, spread all the spare cards out between the 3 players, but there's no central pool of sideboard cards. You can't just go, oh, I've got some enchantment problems on the other side. I'll have that demystified, please. Doesn't work like that. You have to assign every individual card to a deck somewhere along your line of 3. Communicate as much as you want between team members. Very straightforward. Everyone can talk to everyone else. Ideally in a language your opponents don't understand, which works quite well for some countries. That's it, really. So, there are 73 countries, and I'm going to rattle through them. I'm going to tell you whether I think they're going to be out on day 1, which the majority will be, because 73 teams, only 32 advance. That means 41 will be out. I'll tell you if I think they're going to make the top 32, so that's they play in pool play on Saturday, but don't advance. I'll tell you if I think they'll be in the top 16, which means they get to play all day Saturday, but don't make it to Sunday. And I'll tell you whether I think they're going to make the top 8. And I'm going to just check on my little sheet here to make sure I've got 8 people for the top 8 countries. I have. So let's get to it. All right. Number 1, I thought about learning all 73 national anthems for this show. Maybe I'll do that next year. So we start with Argentina, 40 million people, Buenos Aires, the Argentine peso, 4 time zones behind. They have Luis Salvato as their captain, Pedro de Dio as the finalist, and then they've got Ariel Naj playing for them. Now, they had a horrible time last year. They were 55th. They've never had a top 8 in this event, 5 previous tournaments, but they do have 3 out of 5 day 2s. I expect them to make it in. I expect them to get as far as the top 16. Wouldn't surprise me if they made the top 8. Luis Salvato's really good. He's tremendous. He's Platinum Pro this year. He's played 7 PTs, 29 GPs with 4 top 8s and a title. He's just super good and a really great captain. So Australia are up next. Canberra, the capital, 23 million people. Australia have David Mines as the captain, Matthew Sherlock as the champion, and Ryan Cubitt as the finalist. They were 6th last year. Brilliant. I think they'll probably make top 16 somewhere on day 2. But Mines and Cubitt have been on a team before. Mines has their only GP top 8. They will expect to make day 2. How far they go beyond that is, this doesn't look like one of the strongest Australian teams there's ever been. Sherlock went 3-5 at his lone PT start. That was Hour of Devastation, and has a losing record from 3 GP starts. That's not where you want to be, particularly. It doesn't mean he's terrible at Magic, but it does mean he's not an experienced pro. So my hunch, somewhere top 16. Next up, it's Austria. Vienna is the capital. Only 8 million people. Small nation. Boy, they're good at Magic for a small nation. I think they'll probably make top 32, make day 2. I have a lot of time for Oliver Polat-Rotman. He's the captain. 60% win rate at GP level. He's played 24 PTs. Close to $50,000 in prize money. Elias Clocker is the national champion. He played last weekend. Couple of GP top 8s. That's good. 15 and 12 from 3 PT starts. That's okay. And then the finalist from Nationals was Johann Schrenk, or Adrian Johann Schrenk. They have 2 top 8s in this competition. Historically, Austria have been very strong in team competition. You look at the likes of David Reitbauer in 2007, making the final of Team Worlds that year. Really rock solid. It seems to me day 2 is perfectly within reach. Next up is Belarus. Pavel Miedzvedski, Anton Volotovich, Alexander Buslavsky. So, they're the first team I predict not to make day 2, which means I'm going to look very stupid because they were 4th in this competition last year. And they are always surprisingly strong. 4 out of 5 times they've made day 2. Crazy. Pavel Miedzvedski, who's their captain, he's playing in his 5th team over the years. yes, there are reasons to hope that yet again they will look like one of the surprises who make it through. I don't think they will this time, but 4 out of 5 is extraordinary for a very, very small community. Next up is Belgium. You've got Peter Viren as the captain, Christoph van Holzbeck, and Jeffrey Saron. Now, they've only made 2 out of 5 day twos, which is not great for a fairly strong European nation. But when they have made day 2, they've advanced past the 32, they've advanced past the 16, they've made the top 8. Their best was, of course, last year when they finished second behind Greece. Viren is excellent. Pro Tour champion Jeffrey Saron, remember, from London 2004? 2005? 2004. I think they have every chance. They're my first top 8 team. Next are Bolivia. Let's do Bolivia next. 10 million people. La Paz is the capital, and the Boliviano is their currency. David Sologurin's their captain. He's in his 3rd team start, 55% win rate, but he's played 3 PTs, only 6 match wins, 16 match losses. I don't really see them making day 2. They've made 1 out of 5. A second one would be brilliant. But honestly, the other 2, Maurizio Barrera is yet to play at the PT. Maurizio Flores Paulette has played in 1 PT, went 0-4. Hard to imagine them making it through. Next up, Brazil. Yeah, very hard to imagine them making it through. Oh, wait, that's right, I'm lying. Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa, Hall of Famer, brackets Pro Tour champion. Carlos Romão, 2002 World Champion. Lucas Esperberto, Pro Tour champion. Now, they were 52nd last year, but this is the only time they've missed out on day 2. They have a history of great performances. 2008, Willie Adel and the team were very close to winning the whole thing. We've seen them in this building in Nice. I believe they were in the top 8, if memory serves. They've got 3 outstanding players. Everyone's a Pro Tour champion. I think you can argue they are the actual favourites. I think they are the best team, full stop. You can argue that Paulo Vitor da Rosa and 2 copies of me could be the best team, but once you add 2 more Pro Tour champions, they are startlingly good. And there are no shocks in the World Magic Cup because there are few enough rounds and few enough formats and weird enough matchups that anyone can get knocked out at any time, as we'll talk about when we get to Japan. But on paper, Brazil are just the best. They're just fantastic. Bulgaria are next. Sofia is the capital, 8 million people there. They use the Bulgarian lev to count their currency. Christian Ivanov is their captain. He went 6 and 7 at his lone PT start. That was Dragons of Tarkir. They were 12th last year. That's brilliant. That was their first day 2 in this competition. Ivanov is in his 5th team appearance, but Nicholas Rashkov has also played for the country before. The thing is, though, neither Rashkov nor Angel Pastamadziev, have played at the PT level. They look very inexperienced. Pretty unlikely they make day 2. Canada, 34 million people. Ottawa's the captain. They use the Canadian dollar, or sometimes the American dollar, apparently. Eduardo Sajgalik is your captain here. Kel Thompson, who's the national champion, he's in his first WMC. But Lucas Yao and Sajgalik have a ton of team experience. Sajgalik has 2 Pro Tour top 8s. Xiao has 4 Grand Prix top 8s. I think he's one of the best teammates in the competition. And by the way, I think that's true of Eduardo Sajgalik as well. It's hard to quite put your finger on what that means precisely, what is a good teammate. But it's not hard to watch Eduardo and Lucas Xiao play Magic and be supportive of teammates. I think Kel Thompson, as the champion, is in a great place to have a great weekend. I see Canada in the top 8. Chile is next. I have a ton of love for Chile. I've been there multiple times. I love the community. They've been nothing but awesome to me. So it is with a heavy heart that I say, don't see it. Chile have got Patricio Roman as the captain. He's got a ton of experience. He's in his 4th team start, but neither of his teammates have been here before. Alfonso Concha, he's played 10 GPs. He's got a 60% win rate. That is not bad. I don't know. Miguel Veloso went 8-5 at a single GP he's played. This is his first WMC. They've managed 2 out of 5, 3 out of 6 for, again, a very small community. That would be pretty awesome. I don't think it will happen, but we'll see. Now, I do think China will make day 2. There's quite a lot of them to choose from. 1.3 billion, apparently, the official population, with the Chinese yuan as their currency. Liu Yuchen has the bulk of the experience, 13 Pro Tours played, but Lu Chao has played 3, Gao Tan has played 4. The weird thing is, China's never made day 2 of this competition. So every time they've been outside the top 32. I expect that to change this time. I see them in the top 32. Chinese Taipei are up next. You've got Huang Haoshan with his 6 Grand Prix top 8s. Incredibly experienced, 29 PT starts, 105 Grand Prix starts. Chumbo Rad, similar 57% win rate at GP and PT level. He's in his second start here. And Zhang Zhengyu, yet to make a PT start, but reasonable 56% at GP level. They are superb at this competition. 4 out of 5 times they've made day 2. This doesn't look like a particularly strong version of a Chinese Taipei team. My hunch is they miss out, but it would not be a surprise because Huang Haoshan has a lot of experience and will be a very good captain. Colombia are up next. Well, talking about inexperienced, they've made day 2 twice out of 5. That's brilliant for Colombia. Reaching a third will be hard, though. Everyone's in their first WMC. They've got 2 Pro Tour starts between them. Camilo Orrego and Camilo Nino both have played once. They have 10 GP starts between the 3 of them. They ought not to make day 2. Costa Rica is up next. San Jose is the capital. The Costa Rican Colon is the currency. 5 million people, very small nation, small magic community. And they've yet to reach day 2. They've just never done it. Logically, that says it's going to continue. Marino Donato's the captain. He's here for the 4th time. Enrico Maurizio Colagana-Guerrero has good GP numbers from a couple of events, but very hard to imagine them making day 2. Croatia. Croatia, I do think, will make day 2. Not as experienced as they might be. Vladimir Ivanovic, who's their champion, is playing in his first Premier event here. Not played a GP, not played a PT. But Vjeran Horvat is a Grand Prix winner. Tony Portolan has been playing for Croatia for 1,000 years, it seems. This is his 7th team representation, among the most experienced here. 60% from 10 PT starts. They will expect day 2. I expect day 2. Cyprus is next. Daniel Antonio, with a population of 800,000. That's quite little. Antonio is the captain, as he always is. He's played 3 PTs. Tatiana Superneva has a 42% win rate from 10 GPs. But at least they have 9 PT experience starts between them. So there is some experience there. Nicholas Papadopoulos is joining them for the first time, yet to play at PT level. Hard to see them make day 2. Now, the Czech Republic, you would think, could be a very strong team. It has Martin User, so of course it could be a very strong team. But the players with him, it's hard to tell. Thomas Langer has 27 GP starts. He's got a top 8, losing record from a couple of PT starts. Thomas Gierkal, losing win rate from 6 GP starts, so not very experienced, first WMC. They've only made day 2 twice out of 5, which is a very poor return for a nation that boasts a lot of very good players. Of course, you have to get them into the team for your Lucas Blahons and your Andre Straskis and your Peter Sahureks to actually make a difference. So Martin User's great. Top 32 is my best guess. Denmark. Well, Martin Muller is back to the same building where he was the captain of the World Magic Cup winning team in 2014. Andreas Bendix Nielsen has played for Denmark before. I have them at 32, but this is one of the teams I'm most undecided about. It would not surprise me at all if they get demolished, and it would not surprise me at all if we're cheering them on in the back half of Sunday. I really don't get a sense of who they are just from looking at the team sheet, if you like. So we'll see. Dominican Republic. So I've said top 32 for them, which is bold. That's very bold, because the numbers they have, they're not very good. On paper, they have very little chance of making day 2. That's true every year. 3 times out of 5, they've made it. Capolican Lopez Yapor is their captain. He's been here before. None of them have played a PT. And presumably none of that will matter. They just... I don't know what it is. I don't even want to speculate, because they have... Do they just play like they don't care? Do they just want it more than everyone else? Have they had a good run getting the best sealed pools? I don't know. But I'll be very surprised if they're not playing for day 2, at least. Ecuador, on the other hand, this looks like a struggle. Daniel Lopez has played 2 PTs. Francisco Miranda has played 1. Juan Fernando Maldonado has played none. And it's very hard to see how they get there. They have yet to reach day 2. So that's their World Magic Cup, right? It's can they still be in contention? Could they possibly go 2-1 in sealed, and then have a chance? If they could go 2-2, that might be enough to make a first day 2, and the crowd goes wild, as they say. El Salvador, 6 million people. San Salvador is their capital. Jose Lucel have played before. So's Javier Morales. 28th in 2013 was their only day 2 so far. I don't see them making it again. England are up next. Stand for the Queen. Niels Moller's the captain. Alton Birchett, outstanding national champion. Ross Bruxup, the finalist. They were 3rd in this venue in 2014. Niels Moller's got a couple of Grand Prix top 8s. Alton Birchett was 11th at Pro Tour Battle of Zendikar, going 9-1 in standard. So I can't judge them objectively. So it's obviously high hopes, lowish expectations. If they're knocked out on day 1, I'll roll my eyes and not be surprised. If they get to top 16, I think that'll be a really decent performance. If they happen to make it to Sunday, that's fantastic and above expectations. Good on them. So Estonia are next. Only 1 million people in Estonia, capital of Tallinn. They use the euro. Carl Sarap's in his second team start. Raul Kask is the champion. Pierre Vendelbo is the finalist. But neither of them have a winning record from GPs. That's grim, right? You want some kind of winning record at GP level, even if you can't at Pro Tour level. None of them have played at the Pro Tour level. Day 2 looks a long way off to me. Finland are next. Finland feature that this team played last week. Matti Kuisma as the captain, Mikko Araksinen as the champion, and then subbing in for Lori Pispa, who played last weekend, is Ari Hämäläinen. They've got 3 out of 5 day 2s, which is really good. And they were in the top 8 last year. They lost out in the quarterfinals. I'd be surprised if they were able to repeat anything like that. I think they're probably going to struggle to make it out of day 1. France are next. Now, France, Pierre Dajon's the captain. I'm pretty impressed with Alain Bardini. He has a Grand Prix top 8 from just a dozen starts or so. 64% win rate. He went 8-8 at his 1 Pro Tour, which was Armenket in Nashville. 4 times out of 5, they've made day 2. Of course, they're champions from 2013. Rakdos return, as I said rather loudly at the time. Pierre Dajon's excellent. I think they miss Raf Levy. I think Raf Levy is a wonderful team captain. That's no disrespect to Pierre, who I like very much. But it looks to me like they have every shot at making day 2, and then who knows where. Germany, well, Mark Tobias is back. Last year they finished 9th. And that was heartbreak for Tobias. He really, really felt that. I think they'll do well to get that close, But I do think that they'll probably, not least because Tobias is just so solid, so rock solid, that they will probably make it to day 2. Greece, well, this is your defending champions. Makis Matsoukas, Lefteris Kotsialis, Yannis Kontouris. So, they played last weekend. They got some experience. Every time, day 2. That's crazy. Almost no one should be able to do that. Peach Garden Oath, if they declared themselves an independent republic somewhere, you'd expect them to always make day 2. But Greece, that's an absurd record. 5 for 5. Now, the only way is down because they're the champions. It doesn't look an experienced team. Neither Kontouris has played 2 PTs and a couple of GPs. Lefteris Kotsialis has played 1 GP, no PTs. I think they probably get as far as day 2, in part because Makis Matsoukas is very, very good. And of course, there's some national pride there as defending champions. If they go really deep, though, that will be a surprise. That'll be like, okay, fair play. Guatemala, then. Guatemala City, their capital, and the Guatemalan Quetzal is their currency. They're 7 hours behind us, so they'll just be getting up as the back end of the day gets cracking. They were 6th in 2015. That's amazing. Great job. They only have 2 PT starts between the 3 of them. Mediocre Grand Prix numbers. I don't see it. Hong Kong. Very solid. 3 out of 5 day 2s. Yan Wing Chun. Semi-finals in 11 and 5 at the last 2 PTs. I think a lot rests with him. Wong Hok Chun Anson was the finalist. Andy Chan, 9-7 at his lone PT start, 58% from 10 GP starts. It's fine. Doesn't seem like a winning team. I have them top 16. Now, next is Hungary, who I have as my next member of the top 8 alongside Belgium and Brazil. This is number 3 in my top 8 prediction, if you like. Gabor Coxis is in his 8th team appearance. They're twice top 8 finalist in 2013 when they got beaten by France. Incredible experience. These 3 have represented Hungary 19 times between them over the many years of Team Worlds and then the World Magic Cup. I see them in the top 8. I don't know whether they'll win. In theory, they are not as good as some of the super teams. They are not. There's no Pro Tour champions here. There's no Pro Tour top 8s here. But for team, they are almost unrivaled, I think. They're a phenomenal bunch. Iceland, 300,000 people. That's not a lot to choose from because I'm not sure that every single one of them play Magic. We do, of course, have the best name in the field, which is Ragnar Sigurdsson, because you can't say that name. Ragnar Sigurdsson. You just can't do it. He's in his 3rd team start, 59% from 12 GP starts. When they made the top 8, indeed the top 4 in 2013, that was phenomenal. 3 times out of 5 they've made day 2. Just wonderful. They're another team for whom it just doesn't, like Dominican Republic, doesn't seem to matter who turns up. They just outperform. I don't see them in the top 32. I never see them in the top 32, and then they mock me when I'm wrong about them being in the top 32, which is exactly as it should be. Indonesia, well, I've talked about these 3, Aziz Ripat, Billy Negrua, and Ebnu Suryadi. No previous team experience, no previous team has reached day 2 for Indonesia. Will this team be any different? Probably it won't. They have GP experience. That's the good news. But that's where the good news stops. Ireland, I think they will make day 2. Captain Michaela Gravina and the national champion Dave Murphy, who's streamer Dave C, are both playing for the 2nd time. They're looking for a 2nd day 2 in this competition. They finished 9th in 2013. Maybe it's sort of home bias, but I think top 32 is within reach for them. Israel, this is Shahar Shenhar plus support. Shahar Shenhar, of course, double world champion, including in this venue. So they were 10th in 2014, 3 out of 5 day 2s. That's good. Shahar Shenhar, 2 time world champion. The other two this time combined for one GP start with a 2-4 record. That's a bit of a gulf between Shahar and his teammates. I expect, therefore, them not to make day 2. Italy, on the other hand, here's my fourth prediction for the top 8. I see them making it in. Andrea Mengucci is one of my favourite people in Magic. 2 Pro Tour top 8s. 2015 World Magic Cup champion. Matteo Rizzi is hyper competitive, a Grand Prix champion, 4 Grand Prix top 8s. Doesn't have a winning record from 11 Pro Tour starts, which is a concern, but this is not a Pro Tour. There aren't the 200 best players in the world. There are 10, 15, 20, 25 of the best 200 players in the world scattered amongst many teams. Rizzi, as the second best player on this team, is very, very good. And then you've got Adriano Moscato, played a couple of PTs as well. They're super experienced. It looks to me like they have every chance of going very, very deep. Now, if I was going to be controversial, now I talk about Japan and I tell you they have no chance whatsoever. None. They're done. Instead, I'm going to pay attention to what the words on the page say and say 111 Pro Tours played, 8 top 8s, 2 wins, $750,000 in prize money, 234 Grand Prix played, 51 Grand Prix top 8s, 8 titles, over 60% in every conceivable category. Yu Watanabe, 68% win rate at Grand Prix level. Shota Yasuoka, 64%. Kenta Haran, 69% win rate at Grand Prix level from 23 starts with 2 top 8s. Ridiculous. The numbers are absurd. But here's a number. Japan have made day 2 once in 5 tries. That's nuts. They have no right to be that bad. Every year, they have a great team. Every year, they basically fail to do anything. So, once again, I'm left telling you that Japan are great. They're incredibly strong. They're one of the top 3 teams, which they clearly are. And I'm also left telling you, who knows? If they don't make day 2, be 1 in 6. Almost nobody has a worse record than that. Watch them win on Sunday. Latvia, this is Andre Prost, who I mentioned, with Viktor Kazanskis, who played last weekend. Igor Ralovic is their champion, just played a couple of GP starts. They're looking to improve on 1 out of 5. That's like Japan, remember. Andre Prost is back as captain yet again. Kazanskis played 4 PT starts. I actually think they can make day 2. That's a bit of a punt. I mean, they're probably favoured to not make day 2. But I do think they have a shot. I think this is one of the better teams. Lithuania, again, perennial captain is Galdenis Vidugiris with his 2 Pro Tour top 8s, including the finalists. He's got 8 Grand Prix top 8s with 3 titles, over $115,000 in prize money. He's with their best performance last year, 14th place. That was their first ever day 2. Good job. And Gabrielis Kaklauskas it's Gabrielius Kaklauskas, apologies, playing his 3rd start. They look reasonable. I don't think they make day 2. Luxembourg. Well, with reluctance, Steve Hatto, my friend, I don't think Luxembourg are making day 2 either. Steve Hatto's the captain. He's great. 7th representation. 3 GP top 8s for him. Thomas Raper is the champion, 49% from 11 Grand Prix, his first WMC. Dennis Skornik is in his 3rd team start. They've only made day 2 once, that was in 2013. They made 30th place there. It's going to take a lot to get them in. Macedonia, we talked about, they played last weekend in Lyon. Miro Popov, Dimchi Milovsky is the champion. Vladimir Trashevsky is the finalist. Now, these 3 have represented the team 15 times between them, spread over many years of Magic playing. That's wonderful. So they're super experienced. I don't think they'll make day 2, but I wouldn't be surprised. because they have seen their way around this tournament a lot. Malaysia are next. Joe So is the captain. He'll be coming into the news desk to talk to Tim and BDM about the team. The champion is Wee Pang Ming. Finalist Adwin Lim. Only played one GP, no PT. But brilliant record. Malaysia 4 out of 5. They've made day 2. They were 13th last year. Top 16 is a great job. Joe So, younger brother of Terry So, former Invitational winner. Rakdos Orgamage is Joe So's older brother, if you remember that card. I think you have to say they're going to make day 2 again and go 5 for 6, which is brilliant. Now, Malta are one of the smallest teams in the field. They've got less than 500,000 people. Valletta's the capital. They use the euro. Ayrton Mikulev is in his second team start. He's played 7 GPs. Anton Morgenstern's a bit more experienced, 13 Grand Prix starts. Brendan Spiteri, not so much. Look, they made day 2 in 2015 at the first try because they are the most recent nation to have joined this tournament, with the community being big enough for that. They shouldn't make day 2 again this year, but they did it the first try in 2015, could do it again. Mexico up next. Unsurprisingly, it's Marcelino Freeman who's the champion. 3 out of 5 is their day 2 return. That's good. Emmanuel Ramirez Sanchez, between the two of them, Marcelino Freeman and Emmanuel Ramirez Sanchez, 11 team appearances. That's excellent. Good work by them. Jose Daniel Garcia Rosas, who's the finalist from the Mexican National Championship, has played 15 Grand Prix. They certainly have a shot at making another day 2 here. Next is a team that I think could be in the top 8. So this is my 5th team. This would be the Netherlands. Amsterdam is the capital. Euro is the currency. You've got Thomas Hendricks, former Platinum Pro, playing in his 5th team. He's got 3 Grand Prix top 8s. Got a solid PT win rate, 60%, right around there. Has a top 8. Kevin Grove is someone I like enormously. Tremendous competitor. Very strong. 65% win rate across GPs over a long period of time. Couple of top 8s. One of those was in England, in Brighton in 2009, where he dominated the Swiss. And Dan Prout is also 65% GP win rate. They don't have a top 8 in this competition from the first 5 iterations. I said they don't have no superstars, which is true in the way that Palavita Dama de Rosa is a superstar of the game, or Reed Duke for Team USA, for example, or indeed the Hall of Famers from Japan. But they do seem very, very good this time. I think Netherlands are going to go a long way. New Zealand are up next. We talked about Yida Guo and Nathan Samu. They played last week in Lyon. Jason Chung is the champion. He played on a different team. 60% at Pro Tour level from 16 starts. He's very good. He's a former Platinum Pro. He's got a top 8, 3 Grand Prix top 8s. Not a lot of support from the rest of the team. So probably day 2's an uphill struggle. Captains can only do so much, and realistically, the other players on the team have to win matches somewhere along the line. I'm not saying they can't play. I'm sure they can, probably better than me, but it looks like a struggle for them. The same is true of Northern Ireland, because it's always a struggle for Team Northern Ireland. They are one of just 6 countries who've never made it to day 2 yet at this event. Dean Convery is in his 3rd team appearance. They do have some Grand Prix experience. They've all played at least 5. It's 5 for Convery, 13 for DJ Carson, 7 for Simon Carmichael. They will feel they have a chance. What they will need to do is have some decent cards for sealed and get out of there at 2-1, and then you've got a chance of going 2-2 and maybe making it in. But historically, it is always an uphill struggle for Northern Ireland. Norway, they've got 5 million people in their population using the Norwegian krona. The captain is Andres Isaacson, played a couple of PTs, losing record. Simon Skred Registat, or Raystat, 3-5 at their lone PT. That was Pro Tour Ether Revolt in Dublin. Finalist Thomas Madland, losing record from a couple of GPs. Look, that doesn't sound like a squad that should be making day 2. We'll see whether they do. Panama is up next. Saul Alvarado, one of the most decorated players in the history of the game. He seems to be always representing Panama, whether that's just a national champion or a whole team. This is his 8th team appearance. They made day 2 for the first time last year. They made the top 8. That was incredible. Just a wonderful job and a great story. It's not exactly about lightning striking twice. It's more lightning is more likely to strike the second time somewhere else. And a completely other unheralded team with no apparent likelihood of going deep will get to the top 8. So it probably won't be Panama again. But did it last time? Let's see. Paraguay, or Paraguay, depending on your viewpoint. The Guarani is the currency. 6 million people in Paraguay. Oscar Matias Bartman's back for a 4th team start. Other 2, though, no PTs, no GPs, no WMC. They made top 16 in 2015, which is really good for a tiny nation. But I don't see it this time. Peru is up next. Francisco Cifuentes is the captain. He's played for the team before. He's also the only team member with a Pro Tour start. Again, this is going to be really difficult. Diego Hurtado Sanchez is their national champion. Marco Sakugawa is their finalist. But they've played 2 GPs between them. It's going to be super tough. The Philippines. The Philippines, 2 times out of 5, they've made day 2. I don't think that's too bad. Mike Rohn is their champion, and indeed a Pro Tour champion from Geneva in 2007. Whether they can get into day 2, I think is pretty doubtful, honestly. I think that's going to be quite a tough road. Now, Poland, I have them in the top 16. This got easier to promote in light of the last Pro Tour. So you've got Gregor Kowalski, 3 Grand Prix top 8s. You've got Piotr Glagowski, who made the top 8 of Pro Tour Ixalan. They've made 3 of 4 day 2s. They actually didn't play in one of these, didn't put a full team together. Radek Kacmarczyk is in his 3rd team appearance. I put them in top 16 only because I think I can see 8 teams that are better. But if they won the whole thing, I would not be at all surprised. Portugal, yes, should make day 2. Look, they've got Marcio Carvalho, right? 3 Pro Tour top 8s, 14 Grand Prix top 8s, 3 titles. He's 70% at GP level. He's 67% at limited overall. They're amazing numbers. He doesn't have a lot to work with. 2 Grand Prix starts between them for Ricardo Beya and Joao Murray, who fought out the final of the National Championship. But you just have to think that Marcio and the team will make it to day 2. Where they go from there, not sure. Puerto Rico, they look like they're going to struggle. They've got 10 team starts between the 3 of them, but they all have losing PT records from 18 starts between them. They are only 37% win rate from those 18 Pro Tour starts. That's not good. 1 out of 5 day 2s. I imagine that's going to be 1 out of 6. Romania are next. This features Rezglad Colome, the finalist, Lucien Bendka, 52% from 4 Grand Prix starts, yet to play at PT level. The captain is Valentin Roman. He went 2-6 at his lone PT start. Look, they made top 30, top 32 in 2012, the first one of these. They haven't made it since. I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see them making day 2. The Russian Federation, 142 million people. The ruble is the official currency. Alexei Shasov is the captain. Yevgeny Shetka, the champion. And Leonid Grigorenko is the finalist. 1 out of 5 day 2s. If they could make a second, I think that would be a big accomplishment. I don't think that's going to happen, but good luck to them, obviously. So bias time. It's Scotland next. I actually just genuinely think they're great. They have an outstanding record in this competition for a small nation, 5 million population. 4 out of 5 day 2s. They've got 2 top 8s. They've got Brad Barkley, who's been playing for Scotland for 1,000 years. They've got Stephen Murray in his 9th team start. Duncan Tang is very good. 62% win rate from 20 GP starts. Properly solid. That's a lot better than the vast amount of number 3s, if you will, because not everyone's Kenta Haran or Lucas Escobarta. Very strong squad. I see them in the top 16, and I feel like I'm maybe doing them a bit of a disservice, leaving them on the outside of Sunday. Be great to see them there. Serbia, Alexa Telerov, one of the great guys of European Magic. 3 out of 5 day 2s. They were 6th in this building in 2014. Telerov, as usual, anchors the team. Only 4 GP starts, no PTs. For the rest of the team, Milos Perovic, national champion Goran Begovic, the finalist. I don't see them making day 2. But I do see Singapore making day 2. This is Kelvin Chu, so no surprise. One of the great... Breakout isn't quite the right word, but tremendous 2017 for him. Of course, he made it all the way to the Final 4 of the World Championship earlier this year. Just superb player. Clearly really upped his game. 3 out of 5 day 2s is good. I think they have another chance to make it 4 out of 6. Slovakia next. Ivan Floch, of course, is the captain. He's a former team world champion. He's a Grand Prix champion. He's a Pro Tour champion. Don't think he's a Magic Online champion, but I dare say he's working on it. Both teammates have a ton of GP experience. You have to think that they will make day 2 pretty easily. I have them in the top 16. Maybe they go one step further. Slovenia feature Robin Dolar as the captain. 5 Grand Prix top 8s, 2 titles. That's great. 3 out of 5 day 2s, that's also great. The supporting cast, Gregor Kassar, Anza Yeremel, they've not played on the PT. 9 GPs. Not a lot of experience. I think they're probably going to struggle this time around. Same is true of South Africa. This is Karan Chedi, who's back again for his 3rd team start. Kaloyan Petkov is the champion. Played a couple of PTs. Played in Kobe 2006 when he was only 15 years old. Tariq Solomon's the finalist, but he's in his first premier event here. Look, if they could get to day 2, that would be 3 out of 6. That's a great return for a small community. South Korea, I see them making day 2. Only one big name, which is Namsun Wook with his 3 Grand Prix top 8s and a title and a Pro Tour top 8, but that's a lot more than most teams have got. Cho Jung-woo, 60% from 15 GP starts. Jungar Ram, 54% from 8 GP starts and is playing on a team again. They've all played for their country before. It all adds up to the experience you need to make at day 2. Now, Spain, I think, will easily make day 2, and I expect them to go a bit further. Javier Dominguez is one of my favourite players in the game. He's got 6 Grand Prix top 8s, 2 titles, fabulous human being, finalist of the World Championship in 2017, over $100,000 in prize money. He's got plenty of support. To me, lots of GP starts, 30 GPs between the two of them. It just seems to me that Spain are well positioned to make at least the top 16. Now, Sweden, of course, has a big name pro captaining them. That's Joel Larsson. 6 Grand Prix top 8s. He's a Pro Tour champion as well. But there's not a lot to go with them. Matthias Torgren is the champion. Losing record from 2 GP starts, not played at the PT level. Joachim Heining has yet to play at the Pro Tour level. Look, they've made day 2 4 out of 5 times, and if memory served, the time they missed out was a real shock. It was like maybe they finished 33rd or right on the edge. But I can see them not making it this time. We'll see. Switzerland, Andy Gantz is your captain. I think Simon Lee's played a ton at GP level. Marko Milivojevic, 52%, 15 GP starts, not played at the PT. They could improve, but you know what? Switzerland, despite being 2007 world champions, Only 1 out of 5 times have they made it out day one. It's by no means certain they'll do it again. Thailand, well, they played at GP Lyon last week. This is Saktitak Kwanchai-Tunya, Shudapat Tantianon, and Thirawat Chavarinda. 3 out of 5 day twos, fantastic return. They were second in 2015 behind Italy. Absolutely amazing. Is it likely to continue? Probably not. Turkey. So Yusuf Kemal Veyfer, the grandfather, the godfather of Turkish magic, is in his 4th GP start. He's got a top 8 at Grand Prix level from 27 starts. That was a title at Grand Prix Prague. Kanaraktas is a decent champion. He's playing in his 4th team start. Cantanil's playing in his first Premier event. Good luck. Well, actually, that's not true because he played the GP last week. But I don't think Turkey make day 2 this time around. Nor do I think Ukraine make day 2. Alexei Ryabakon is the champion, is the captain. Yuri Babic is the champion in his 5th team start. And the finalist, Peter Hritsenchuk, is in his first Premier event. They were 7th last year. That's a brilliant, brilliant job. And, like Belarus, just a fantastic return. 4 out of 5 day 2s. That's just incredibly hard to do. I have them not making day 2, but it won't be a surprise if they do. Next, United States. Well, if you've been counting, I got to 7 of my potential top 8. Of course, United States is the 8th, because it's generally foolish to vote against them because they always have one of the best players in the world, because the top US pro is always one of the best players in the world. This time around, it's Reed Duke, supported by Jerry Thompson with 2 Pro Tour top 8s, the winner of Pro Tour Armand Kett, 11 Grand Prix top 8s. Oliver Tomajko is your national champion. Very good GP record, 36 GP starts, 61% win rate, that's super solid, 1 top 8. Losing record from 3 Pro Tour starts, so that's a bit less exciting. Look, again, this is one of the teams like Japan, like Brazil. There's too much randomness in the tournament to go, oh, they're bound to win. But it would surprise literally no one, except perhaps the mums of the finalists that they beat, if USA win. Right? They have a terrific team. Tomajko's pretty good. And Thompson and Reed are just straight, honest-to-God, long-term pros. So you have to think Sunday is the first time that we even start thinking about, are they in trouble? And if they are in trouble earlier, if they're at 3-3, scrambling to get in or to be eliminated, or if they lose their first round of pool play and face double elimination at that point, that will be a big story because they are very, very good. Uruguay are one of my favourite teams at the World Magic Cup because we have this Spirit Award where teams are encouraged to wear some form of national dress or attire or whatever. Uruguay tend to turn up in matching, immaculate, white, crisp shirts and lovely navy ties, and they always look great. They always seem to be having a fun time, not just with each other, but with all their opponents. 2 times out of 5, they've made day 2. I think doing that again would be actively good because I think they don't look like they have a great team. Venezuela, they were on the train down from Lyon. They played last time. 2 of them did. Humberto Patakas, the captain. Daniel Fior, the national champion. He's been representing Venezuela forever and ever and ever. They're looking for a 3rd day 2 appearance. It's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. Now, we mentioned bias. There's one more team. So just looking back, so I have England making the top 16. I have Ireland making the top 32. I have Scotland making the top 16. I have Northern Ireland, regretfully, not making day 2. So, of course, I'm going to put Wales into day 2. But I do actually think they've got a really decent team this time. Philip Griffiths, he's the national champion, the captain. 4th team start for him. Sam Rolfe is very good. Doesn't yet have the clothes to show it. He has the numbers, but not the finishing results. So 64% at GP level is very good. Just doesn't have the top 8s to go with it. Aaron Boyan, 65% from 11 GP starts. I see them making day 2. So, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Italy, Hungary, Japan, the Netherlands, and Team USA. That's my idea of the top 8. I wonder how many of those I'll get right. Presumably, all of them. We're at the end of the show. We got there. We talked quite a lot. We talked about some very deep stuff at the start of the show, and then we talked about Grand Prix Lyon, and we just spent the last hour in your fabulous company talking about the World Magic Cup. It is an event that is very dear to my heart, and if your soul has been somewhat bruised by the last week of revelations and horror thrust in your face at just how mean some people can be to some other people for no apparent reason, do tune in this weekend to the World Magic Cup, because if you've forgotten quite why magic is a joyous, joyous thing, I think we're probably going to be able to show you on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. To all the men who love magic, to all the women who love magic, to all the everyone who loves magic, thanks for watching this, and what is it they say in Bill and Ted? Be excellent to each other. I'll see you next week on Talking Points, or Talking Points.